it in the
There's
attachment?
also two more, Mr. Mayor. The Bluegrass Tourist Bus, the agreement with the resorts for the city trip.
I only have one. I only have the DJ here. So that's the only thing that's on item 15. So I would recommend the board approve that.
So we need to ratify that contract agreement?
Yes.
Okay, need a motion to ratify?
I'll make a motion.
Have a motion, need a second?
I'll second.
Motion second, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Next item on the agenda is new business.
The new business will be the contract events, and you should have these in. Do they have them in their packet, Carolyn?
No.
The event agreements. Okay. Martin County Community Center. This is for the Legally Blonde performance. Was conducted at the community center.
They are on
They were attachments.
They were attachments, okay. And the second one is the Bluegrass Tours, Inc. And that's for Shelby Park High School, for Ms. Harless. Michelle Harless is the sponsor for that. It's to Cedar Point, Ohio. And the third one is the Kalahari Resorts at the Convention Center. And that is for Shelby Park High School students as well. That's Ms. Michelle Harless again. So those are student trips for the rewards and for their seniors.
I need a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Reports, administrative reports. Got
Miss Sloan?
Which one do you have for working session?
Mr. Chairman, can I say something?
Yes.
Okay. I just want all the classified people to know that the reason I voted to abolish that petition is because I figured that would save about 8 or 10 of your all's jobs.
Yeah.
I didn't have the support to do that. So if you get laid off, don't blame me. Okay?
And if you abolish it, then a classified couldn't take that position.
Yes, the classified can
How?
take.
Not if the position doesn't exist.
If you create the position, if it's abolished, we can create it as a classified position. We can do that.
Well, then why didn't you do it like that?
Because you have to abolish. You have to abolish it first.
Well, why didn't you turn around and create it back? That's what I'm saying. Leaving it open like that, Gary. That's not.
Well, if we leave it open, we are the ones that do that. I mean, I'll make the motion again if anybody wants to. Can I do that?
I mean, if you'll turn it back to a classified, but I'm not. And then you've got this one
Well, it's
that I'm still not getting an answer on. And what if we abolish it and it doesn't exist to begin with?
well, if we abolish it
does that
and
say
it doesn't
for us?
exist, then it doesn't exist anyway.
We can readdress it.
I want to readdress
But
it.
it's saying that we're approving of what's going.
Here's the thing that I want to. Okay, here's what I want the board to understand. If the position of transportation, director of transportation, can be absorbed into the, well, that's just like, okay, you know, Donetta, for example, Tammy's job. We've had nobody in that position as finance director for the last year. Okay, when the
Because
motion
she was treasurer.
Huh? Yeah, but the motion, if you remember, the motion that was made at the end of the last year was any position that wasn't filled in the last school year was abolished. Kessinger's job, not his duties, but his position as finance, as director was abolished. That's the reason that they've not been able to hire anybody in that position. if we abolish the position of Director of Transportation as well as all the other hats that he wore. Now that doesn't mean that those duties go away, but it means that position goes away. The only person, the only entity that can create that as a classified, position is the board. It would be my recommendation that we do that. But first we have to abolish it.
And if you don't, Don, it's my understanding, then it will stand, because you were
it'll stand.
about the $75,000.
It'll
Yeah,
stand.
that position's going to remain.
That position's
Well,
going to
I
remain.
understand, but listen, you're not getting what I'm saying. I have not seen proof that that exists. Nobody wants to show me proof that that position exists.
What position exists?
When was these papers made up? When was what you give us this presentation? When was it made up? Was it today? Was it run off
Yes,
today? Okay. Then
Okay.
I don't know that exists.
Well, if it exists or doesn't exist is not the issue. I mean, the thing is, if it exists as one of Greg's duties, correct?
Think about allocations, okay? Just the position. Just think, it doesn't matter what that person is doing, because every contract in this district and every other 173 school district, the last line states, on all other duties assigned by the superintendent. It doesn't matter about the duties. Duties, responsibilities come and go.
Yeah.
It's the position that you're looking at. And I would also say, I don't think you can abolish while the person is in there and they have yet to retire.
That wasn't my motion. The motion was to abolish it when he retired, to abolish that position. When he retired, effective upon his retirement, that position would be abolished as transportation director and any other position that he held. So it couldn't be posted. Here's the thing I want to get away from. Okay, let's say that Greg had director of transportation. That's what everybody knows him as. But let's say that he held some other job where he got, a $10,000 or $15,000 a year stipend, and all you do, you just circumvent that thing. Well, we'll hire him and pay $80,000 or $90,000 a year because that title exists, and you hire him in that thing.
There are no other positions. It's not split out. The only thing that the positions, central office is stipend, similar to what an administrator would in any other school.
Okay.
So again, it's just the allocate. It's just the position. Gary, it's not going to go anywhere. If he's out of there, then we'll come back and you can abolish it. I'm not going to go against this board and try to run out here and hire somebody to put in. I'm just not going to do it.
But I would say I feel more comfortable abolishing the position. That ensures these people are going to get paid. That'll make
You don't know that. That'll help advance that.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
It'll help
advance it. Yeah, that'll help advance it.
But keep in mind what I shared with you in this presentation.
Oh, I know about the ADA and all that stuff there. I understand that.
And the 1% raise this year, 2% this year.
I know
But
that.
Gary, what I'm trying to say is if there was a salary for this position that I'm questioning, and if we go in and we abolish it, then we give up all hopes of any investigation to see, because I have yet to see any descriptions, when it was voted in, or anything. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but that's not going to be filled.
But can you come
But
back?
I want to know.
Yes.
I want to
You can
know
revisit
beyond a
anytime.
shadow of a doubt that the board created it.
It may have been created sometime in the past. I have no idea when it was created.
Donnell, if it's done away with,
It don't exist.
come back.
I
Do away
understand that,
with it,
Rita,
and
but
then come back.
nobody's understanding what I'm saying now.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I understand exactly what you're saying. You don't know when it was created.
Well, no, I'm saying we're letting something go that we should.
Well, here's the thing about it. If it's abolished, I don't think that Mr. Meadows created that position. I don't think that he did. There's a gentleman, well, wait a minute. Hey, Donna, there's a gentleman here in the back.
And that's
He's gone. Okay.
Hey, Gary.
Huh?
Hold on just a second.
All
I'll
right.
just forget it, Craig. Just forget it. Y'all vote. I'll just sit out. Shut
Okay.
up.
Well, the thing about it is that will, as Mr. Meadows said, that will ensure that these people, it will go in some direction to make sure that they do get their money. That's all I'm trying
I'm
to
sure
do.
the classified knows after calling them
Huh?
out.
That's the question, is it going to?
Well, the whole thing about this, it puts us in better shape to
Yeah, but
pay
you're still
them.
going to be saving that much money, Vicki.
You're going to be saving that much
Yeah, but
money.
go in the big shop's pocket.
No,
Well, it
no, they
can't,
have to make, no.
it can't
Gary.
go. If you
Gary.
abolish the position,
Hey, Gary,
We just might as well move
do you
on.
have a motion? Go ahead
yeah,
and make it.
I'll make the motion that we, again, the understanding that we abolish the position of Director of Transportation, that position, and any other position, and I understand that they're duties, held by Mr. Cornett when he retires, we can't abolish it now, but when he retires, that position be abolished. And the jobs, all the duties and everything be absorbed by the central office personnel.
No,
that's my motion.
We can't make the motion absorbed by central office personnel. You can't make the motion.
Well, I'll just make a
who they
motion.
absorb to, just the allocation. Or the abolishing.
We will abolish that position. However you all handle it is completely up to you. But that is my motion, to abolish the position that Greg Cornett had as transportation director and any other duties that were assigned to him, to abolish that position. Now,
at such time as he retires.
Yeah, at such time that he retires. Now,
Okay.
can I get a second?
But what's going to happen to our transportation for the kids to get to school?
It'll be absorbed by somebody else.
Same thing as
Same
doing
thing
now.
doing that.
Yeah.
Somebody else just pick it up and help out.
We do it
It'll
now.
done.
Okay, we have a motion on the table. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Roger seconds.
Motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Well, am I gonna get a list though? I mean, can we just say any position, or do we have to have a list of what those positions are? I mean, can you just
We
abolish?
can abolish.
It's just transportation, right?
This is just for this is just for
One allocation,
transportation.
just
One
one
allocation.
allocation.
Oh, well, see, you didn't tell me
Should it
that.
become,
No, I didn't know. I said that.
You
Okay.
told me all positions at that. Yes.
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 Okay.
If you told me that. Do you all understand what I was hearing though?
Yes.
I understand. I do.
You can still investigate and find out.
Yeah.
But I mean, I didn't know we were just transportation. I heard transportation and all other positions is what I heard.
Well, the whole thing about it is that keeps from any other job that Greg
I'll go back and
had at
watch
that
it.
time
I
being
don't-
posted as a new job. We didn't create it. It doesn't exist. That's what it comes down to.
Okay, let's vote, guys.
We just voted.
All in favor say
Oh,
aye.
aye. Aye. Donetta?
I said,
Okay.
All ayes.
3 ayes.
I vote no. Motion carries 4-1.
Be absorbed by other classified or certified in the future if need be, right?
Here would be my recommendation, okay, for this reason. Okay, can I say this?
Yes.
All right. In the past, I mean, one of the things that's been our problem, I would, and I've talked this over with Roger, right, Roger? I've talked this over with Roger and things like that. And I've talked, we've just for discussion purposes, not for any other thing. One of the things historically, one of the problems that we've had in the school district, look at Sheldon Clark High School and look at Johnson Central. Johnson Central was built 7 years before Sheldon Clark High School. Sheldon Clark High School 15 years ago was a piece of junk. I mean, it was just a horrible building. We don't have really anyone to report to the board. And I'm not saying, you know, anything about Larry or anybody else that's held that position in the past. But the board needs to know what needs to be done to these schools to keep them properly maintained. That's part of our responsibility. I would like to be updated on that periodically, and I would like to have somebody, as far as the buses, work with making sure that everything's, I would consolidate those two positions and make them a classified position.
don't talk to me. I'm sorry. No, don't talk to me. Don't even come around.
One more thing, what we've looked at, and I've harped on, and will continue, is putting certified people in classified positions, and I just don't see doing that. And that's one of the reasons we're looking at that position.
Yeah.
May I make a suggestion? I've spoke before at a previous meeting, and I just want to make the suggestion. I'm just kind of putting this out there. My name is Jessica Jewell. I work at Eden Elementary School. I'm not afraid to say that. I'm going to say that I personally hate that I'm getting an increase when everybody else is getting cut. To me, I'm a teacher. I'm a teacher, and we're supposed to get, what, a 1% increase, right? And I know that's mandated by the state. I mean, Mr. Meadows, you told me it was mandated by the state.
Yeah.
And so my only question was, since it is it's mandated by the state, is there any way possible that we as teachers can come together and say, hey, you know what, as a whole,
Can't do that.
We
I mean,
can't.
they won't let you do it, will they?
Mr.
Mr.
I
Smith,
did,
no.
Mr. I did, I didn't say it, and I haven't got it yet. They
No, they
told me it had to go to legal services, and then they would give me an answer.
Well, I just wanted to put it out there because I, as a teacher, am willing not to take that 1% increase to help save these 8. Because I will say this, when we start overcrowding our classrooms or capsizing them, doing the splits with Common Core, and anybody who knows Common Core today, Common Core is very strenuous. It takes a lot of time. It is very strategic. Those kids have a lot of knowledge to have to learn. You're doubling the set of standards on those teachers when you put a split in with them. At one time, you could have done a split with 4.1. I can say that. I teach 4.1 science, so I know that it could have been done with 4.1. But when you start splitting those classes now, especially with Common Core, man, you're putting a double load on these teachers. And you're taking away, on top of it, any aids that we have.
Instructional assistants. Yeah.
And so I'm just speaking, and I'm not saying this out of any anger in me. Out of all respect, because I know that we were dealt with a big deficit. I get that. So I'm saying this with all the respect in me. I'm just saying if there's any way, and like I was throwing that out there because if we could, I would. But if there's any other way to help fund to where we can keep our aides, keep their just to keep their help in the classroom with us, because I'm telling you, it's going to be tough. And like I know, you like talking about allocating the job.
That was the reason for my motion.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
You're thinking about those are kids that are in a classroom, and I'd rather have somebody in the classroom than I would the central office. Nothing against central office personnel.
Absolutely.
But you're all with kids. The thing that makes it, tough is that. Like the thing that you saw at the beginning of the meeting, the leadership audit, which included the board, all the deficiencies that they found. Me and Roger were new members. And I remember Roger come in when I first published that in the paper and said, my goodness, I've been a board member just two months. And I said, yeah, those are things. And those are things that we try to address. I mean, I'm not going to be somebody that sits up here and rubber stamps things. I'm going to do what's best for everybody, including the central office personnel. I mean, I'm not against it. We need everybody. That's the whole thing when I was talking about the thing with the minor man a while ago. Everybody's got to work together. Everybody's got to do their
But the only thing that concerns me about that, though, is, which I've already voted, but like I said, you put too many duties on one person, what's that going to do? They're not going to get the attention it needs. But
I don't think central office.
I'd like to. I've got a two something to say too, and that I don't think that we should pit teachers against the certified against the classified. Exactly.
When you talk about an unfunded mandate, wasn't it that they raised the SEEK funding so that part of that funding would then be so it's really not an unfunded mandate. It's just saying we're going to give you more money, but we're going to require that you pay your teachers a little more.
Yes,
and at the same time, there's no reason to have to take that away from the classified.
The SEEK funding that came in, the mandated raise, before we even 3 weeks ago, because of our average daily attendance went down 250, absent every day. Before we even get to the 1% mandated raise, we've lost $60,000 with the increase in the SEEK funding. Our SEEK funding did increase. It did. But before we even get that money, we're $60,000 in the hole. And we still got to do the mandatory 1% increase.
Attendance also. You keep saying attendance and our attendance is so low. So if it gets up to, average is going to be around 94, right? So you say we are
95 is what our elementary should be.
So you say that we are at right now we're losing $450,000. We're not going to get it up to 100%.
That's correct. No.
So it's not going to get up to 450,000. So we're still not going to get as much as you're projecting as far as that goes. But again, I mean, it is somebody's job. And we're working every day as teachers, aides, bus drivers to get them to school. Yes. But it's somebody's job to go and find out where the heck they are when we're sitting in school.
You're absolutely right. And whose job is that?
Yours.
It's the attendance clerk in your school. That's why
we take attendance every day, and we're constantly having rewards. We know it's when it's low.
Yeah, and I'm just sharing with you whose
responsibilities
those are. And it's the attendance clerk in the school. That's their job. That's what they get paid for. Also under the direction of our DPP, of which every district has to have one required, and that's Mr. Craig Grayson. And also our Family Resource Youth Service Centers as well has a responsibility in that, of reaching out to those attendants. So, but again, I want to emphasize, one of the reasons that we're facing more of a financial challenge is because the attendance rate of 250 on average every day has directly impacted our ability to pay the employees that we have. Because before we even give the 1% raise, we've lost $60,000. We went backwards $60,000 even with the increase in seat. So that's the crux of it right there. And we're trying to address that. And every principal in here can, if they're here, immediately 3 weeks ago when we got this data, and we're not finished with the attendance audit. They're coming in next week. We're going to talk about the nursing program and how they can help us as well. But the principals on their allocations, we had to cut one teacher immediately because we didn't have the money to do the 1% mandated raise, and we were $60,000 down already. Folks, I can assure you that this entire central office and the leadership of the schools and this Board of Education, we're going to do everything we possibly can to provide for our students what they need to succeed. And with the ratios of teacher, you know, if you remember back July when I first got here, again, aside from the classified salary schedule, well, the other thing, if the board remembers, is the student-teacher ratio in the primary grades. That's where our children learn to learn. We have got to get those ratios, in my mind, 20 to 1. That's what we want to target. We want to get there. Because if we don't get those ratios down, and the spectrum of learning needs of 20 students, but especially if you get up to the 5th grade and there's 29 students, you cannot, one teacher cannot reach the spectrum of needs in today's student enrollment. They cannot do it. You cannot do it, and we're not going to ask you to do it. However, we can't afford only so many, but my emphasis, and I've spoken with the elementary school and this district, we have got to cut that ratio down because, folks, if we do what we have to do in the primary grades, Head Start preschool included, but the kindergarten, 1st grade, 2nd grade, and 3rd grade, which is your ungraded primary, if we can cut those ratios down, we're going to have, research shows that we're going to have significant achievement gains. Not immediately, but when we get to the intermediate levels of 4th and 5th grade, then we can sustain a 20.
I've been saying that since 1995 when I started school.
That's what we're trying to do. But there is a zero-sum game. You can only, the pie is only so big, and you can only cut it so many times. And I want to go back to the classified salary schedule again, folks. I don't want to see anyone non-renewed. I don't want to see that. But again, the research and the data in this district is the contributing factor to the salary schedule of the classified especially. The reason why it hasn't changed is because we can't reduce and haven't, I shouldn't say can't, this district has not reduced the number of employees needed or required for the student population. So we can't increase the salary schedules. I want to do that. The teacher-student ratio in the primary grades and increase the salary schedule of the classified. The pie is only so big. And as I'm sharing, Nina, it just got smaller 3 weeks ago and we're not even finished with the data. Folks, our revenue, it doesn't change. I mean, nobody wants to raise taxes and that's the only way it changes. We don't get any more. Yes, but we don't get any more. That's directly for facilities. But we don't get any more. In fact, the money we get, please understand this, if nothing else when you leave here, we are allocated money, funds, based on the number of students we have on average every day in our district. And we lost 10% of our population on average already. And yes, it's based on 100% data. So
Mr. Grayson doing to get the attendance up?
I assure you that he is
he's doing everything
that he possibly can.
What else can you do?
There's so many factors that come into play. You've got, when they get at the high school, once they turn 18, they're in the, it's out of our hands.
Appreciate you saying that, Tom, because we
There's
know in
nothing
2
we can
years
do with
that our compulsory age of attendance goes to what? Folks, if you think we're having trouble now with 16-year-olds, you wait till it pops up to 18.
There's not a thing you can do with it.
There you go. You're going to have grown.
Because of what goes on in the school system.
what goes on in the school system.
And it's going to go up to 18 compulsory student attendance is going to go to 18. We've got a
good basketball player.
huge challenge.
They don't play unless you're in the system, and that's the truth.
What do you mean?
Well, if your kid is not a kid of a teacher, kid of anything, I'm talking about in the clique that I say, they don't have a chance, and that's an honest truth.
Well, Mr. Craig Grace is doing everything he can, and I invite anyone in this community and anywhere else. The people working central office, they're not in the offices, folks.
Do you think they will ever be any kind of funding? Which I know you're short on money. I know that. But like Mr. Harlos had said before, when I watched that meeting that you all had, some kind of incentive. Like if you don't miss a day for 6 months or the whole year, there's going to be $1,000 put in. Your name could be drawn out. I mean, you know, and it can't be no little pizza party or, you know, if you give them something.
Well, there are short-term incentives, and the board needs to be careful on where that money comes from. You just can't pull it from
anywhere. That's what I'm saying. If there was ever any money funded.
But there are strategies and incentive. In fact, on May 31st, I believe, at the Roy Collier Center, it is a joint effort between Marcy Hale, the food services, and also a small grant that Paul Baker here, our school psychologist, got together. They're going to be giving away some bicycles for their attendance and for the bike trail. So here's what it comes down to, folks. We can turn this around. It's just the value of education. How much do we value that the child is in the desk or in the seat every day?
You're singing to the choir.
I know, but I'm just...
We're not sending our kids to school because the parents, the schools do incentives, but the parents do not send them to school.
That's what the question was. What is Mr. Grayson and others responsible? And that's what I'm saying. We are doing everything we can.
I know he does, but I'm saying the court systems need to hold these parents accountable where they don't.
I agree with that, but also schools should be an attractive place.
It must be attractive.
It should be there.
But we are
Teachers, go to the kids' home. That's what he's asking you to do.
This little guy, he's a student.
Jail. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and they're really mean to you.
He says they're like,
that's why we don't send their kids. And they don't help.
And I'm sorry, I was told that I should clean a teacher's classroom. I don't go to school to be a custodian.
There you go.
their garbage is not being taken out. But you know what? No offense to any principals, but the principal is responsible.
Yeah. Because they don't have janitors. Do not have janitors.
We can't get them that. We can't get them that.
I'm sorry, but tomorrow's senior skip day.
Well, then we
attendance is going to go down.
then we need to.
How do you feel about that?
But who, Mr. Meadows, who is responsible to make sure that that school is clean? Number one, the principal. If the principal is not making his janitors clean that building, and I'm
the reason why we can't recruit bus drivers and the custodians is because of our salary schedule.
So there's no janitors at the high school here?
Well, yes there are. Yes there are. But that salary schedule is not attractive. And I'm going to use the word that Gary shared. That our salary schedule is not attractive. It's not competitive. And if we don't change that, we're always going to be starving for custodians, bus drivers, and eventually it's going to be teachers
Can I say something
and instructional assistants.
about the students cleaning? Rita, I'm not sure where you got your information, but
This little boy right back here, he's in school.
we do not force our students to clean. We ask them to pick up after themselves, which they should, to be responsible. But we ask them to pick up after themselves, and that's all we do.
Are you a student helper?
Mr. McCoy.
Yes, sir. Mickey McCoy, retired teacher. I highly recommend retirement for anybody. In defense of Mr. Craig Grayson, I just want to say that I own a little sandwich shop down in the Lower Inez. Someday I hope to be the soup czar of Lower Inez. I'm building up right now. But anyway, I'm out on my porch a lot because Actually, I don't get much business because of my politics, but you all know what I mean. I'm a big union man. And I will see a kid out there in Quail Hollow riding a bicycle or a skateboard, and all I have to do, sir, is get on the phone and call Craigo. And he's there like Johnny on the spot. He's only failed me one time, because I want these kids in school. And if they're out in Quail Hollow or in my lane, and they're school age, and they're playing, they're not sick, then Craigo is right on it. Only one time, and he was at a meeting in Prestonsburg at Jenny Wiley State Park. So I do want to say that your man is on the spot.
He's even made it all the way to the head of Rock House, chasing down kids. So, I mean, we have dedicated people that are doing the best they can to make sure kids get to school.
I want to say something. I'm a parent. I've been volunteering in this county 21 years. I've seen a lot of things come and go. We have wonderful principals in this county that care about their students, and the teachers work very hard. I've watched as the system has changed. They do so much work, and they care so much for our kids. And the aides do too. Some of these aides and teachers treat these kids as if they are their own.
We all do.
And they are wonderful employees. I volunteered before I had kids. I volunteered in this system. And then I went back, and I am at school quite often doing things that needs to be done that they don't have time to do, because they do work really hard to teach our kids. And I think that we need everyone that we have, especially our special needs aides. Because when you have a child that's in a class that needs an aide, and he doesn't have one or she doesn't have one, it disturbs the whole class. There's not one child going to learn. And I did a survey over the weekend and checked out into Washington, D.C. websites. If you have more than 20 children in a class, their learning ability falls drastically, 30% and up. And I think if it takes being kept from the top, the higher up pays, to keep who we have, because our children in the last couple of years, they are progressing. And if anyone's took away, we're going to lose our children being educated the way they need to be. I just think that needs to be thought about before any cuts be cut.
Our special needs are requirement statute driven, and there will be there won't be any children in our district who are going without the services that are required.
Thank you.
And I want to say, I wasn't going off on the teachers about the cleaning. That's our response. I was going off on us. We should have janitors in our schools. It wasn't nothing to do with the teachers. I wanted you all to know that. Because when you spoke up, I was like, oh gosh, you got the wrong idea, but it's not that. I was talking about us not having enough janitors.
Yes, sir.
I have another point of view. Well, that's what I talked about in the renewals. But have we looked at the renewal for the lease on this place, or the waste? The waste that goes on in this county. Do you know what it's costing you to run a bus on this road that is 27 years old? We've got buses out there, people, that are trash.
That are 27 years old?
Close to it. We got a 93 out there. What is that? We've got a 90. Have we got a 92, 98?
Yeah, we do. 92.
We don't have buses. So it's not just the attendance. You know, there's lots and lots of waste where money is being spent that we need to look at, that we can save money. This lease, are you going to renew it? You're trying to sell 3 mobile homes. Make some offices in that. I've been an office manager and accountant all my life. I love working in a nice office. But if I can't afford it, I can do my work someplace else. I've run my business. You know? You've got to look at the waste and the expenditures, not just salaries. And I know the attendance is a big, big factor. But I'm telling you, I've worked here for 6 years, and the first year I worked here, I helped make a move. And the waste that I saw then was ridiculous. And it's still going on. New stuff that's being pitched that we are buying and buying and buying over again for supplies. Because there's no one accountable. So we've got all kinds of aspects that we can look at, that we can help for our children.
I have another question too. I've held my hand up forever. I'm also a bus driver, and when this Director of Transportation position is filled, certified, classified, whatever, I ask that whoever it is, they have to get their CDLs and drive to see what we go through every day with 66 kids on a bus.
They need to go on every route.
I agree with that. I agree.
Yes.
The board members need to come out and hop on a bus with us every now and then just to see how it is. I mean, we love our kids. We do everything we can for our kids.
That's what it is. We need more buses, smaller buses.
I mean, I'd say that if you got a bus full of kids, 66 kids, that you need an aide more than.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, you know, but
in the classroom, 20 to 1, we have 66 to 1.
And we're having to look out for that other driver. You know how many times I get called in on saying that I speed. If I was speeding, I would have run over the speed. I would have run over the stop.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Slum.
We're letting Ms. Slum do her.
okay, we got to go on.
This is Martin County Board of Education Financial Report, May of 2014. And of course, our theme is comparing expenses to revenue. We all know that we can have more expenses than you do revenue. In the month of April, our expenses were $1,030,253. Our revenue was $862,147.07 with $168,106 more expenditures than revenue. Taxes received to date. Property, 89%, gas taxes, 70%, oil, 79%. What's outstanding on our revenue or taxes to receive is on mine minerals and franchise tax.
So our taxes are coming in better this year than last.
Yes. Yes. Last year, when Bob Spillman came in as state auditor, he told Mr. Meadows and I we had $1 million challenge. $1 million challenge. That seemed like an almost impossible challenge. Approximately $1 million challenge to overcome in fiscal year 14. The monthly report. That's okay, Carolyn. Just you can leave it there. Approximately $1 million challenge. Beginning balances in fiscal year 2013 was $360,261. Beginning balance this current year, $125,771. We started our fiscal year out this year $235,000 less than last year. Seek funds. We were short. Fiscal year 2013 was $8,680,000. Current year, fiscal year 2014, $8,439,90. A difference of $241,000 less in seek funds in this current year than last year. This current year, we had an experience raise to overcome $180,000. We had to have a carryover for fiscal year 14 or into the new year of $280,000. That's almost $1 million. And then when we started our new fiscal year, we had to vacate the high school and move to the middle school. Expenses cost the district somewhere around $300,000 that we did not have. So instead of $1 million challenge, we had a $1.2 million challenge. Carolyn, flip on the monthly report because I do want to let them see this pie chart. Yes, down. It's May. I'm sorry. It's close that one and when that's okay. Just leave it open. I'm afraid it won't open again. 2013-14 budget expenditures. Our highest amount of expenditures are salaries. Salaries take up almost 80% of our entire budget. $10,393,325.
Okay, how much of our, you know, what percent?
Almost 80. It's 78%, almost 80%.
Okay, what do they recommend? Because if they want around between 70 to 76, 70 to 75.
I think so.
Yeah, so we're at 80.
Close to 80%. Our utilities is 6%, and we've been told by our energy gentleman that it is our utilities will increase anywhere between 15 and 20% next year. Transportation costs. Anyone looked at fuel lately? Those also will increase, and we look for them to increase in the new year. Transportation cost the district $638,000, and yes, we need buses. Buildings and maintenance, 3% our entire budget, $407,000. Insurances raised, they cost us around $350,000. Supplies and miscellaneous, $275,000. Services, $280,000. Contingency, $302,000. $496,000 is our budget. With our salaries at almost 80%, there's no wiggle room for next year or the current year. General notables, experience raise fiscal year 15, $180,000. Cost of 1% raise, another $80,000. Federal funded health insurance, $105,000. Total $364,917. And concerns, rising utility costs, rising insurance costs, fuel costs, and of course, lower ADA. Estimated ending balance in June of 2014. If estimated revenue is received and expenses stay within budgets, then our ending balance should be approximately $400,000. And that is the monthly report for May. I'm going to quickly go over our working budget session. Revenue versus expenditures and notable trends. Revenue sources. Our sources for our school district: state, SEEK funds, and state grants. Local taxes, federal funds, and E-rate. Expenditures are salaries, fringes, insurances, utilities, unemployment, travel, supplies, contingency, debt service, and KISTA leases for buses. If the board will look at the spreadsheet, we'll look at 2012-13 final SEEK allocations. And our ADA in 2012-13 was 1,904 students. Those are how many students attended our classrooms in Martin County. 2013, it dropped down to 1814, which was about 90 less students per day. 2013-14, which is our current year, drops down to 1814. And when our SEEK money came in this year, our ADA was estimated, it's a tentative number, $1,776. Or I'm sorry, 1,776 students attending school in Martin County on a daily basis, which is 128 students less per day since 2012-13. Our SEEK allocation in 2012-13 was $8,680,000. 2013-14, which is our current year, $8,439,000. Tentative projected for next year, $8,380,000. The difference between 2012-13 and next year, $647,000 less of SEEK money per pupil. And I wanted to bring this to the board's attention because of the governor's budget. They increased per pupil funding for this year. And they will increase next year. But we don't know what they'll do the year after. So I encourage our budget committee and our board members to not look just till next year or the year after, but 3 years down the road. Attendance data. The board sees the trend from 9 and 10 to 2013-14. We've lost 100 students enrolled. State grants, you have Christie grants. We don't have funding for that. That's why we have a tentative working budget. Gifted and talented, we absorbed 10 to 15% of salaries in gifted and talented. Reading to Achieve, we have received those grants this year. And again, the board takes care of anywhere between 10 and 15% of that salary. Our flexible focus funds, 2012-13, yearly total is $110,000. 2013-14, $103,000, and next year will be at $156,804. That is an increase.
So how do we get an increase on that?
It was in the budget.
In the budget?
Yes.
Okay, but how? Okay, but how did?
That's just what was budgeted in the governor's budget.
Okay, in the governor's budget. Okay.
Yes. Local funding, of course, we have property taxes, motor vehicle taxes, and utility tax. Federal projects. We have 2012-13, $1,551,000 for Title I, 2013-14, $1,507,000. And we do have Title I allocations, 2014-15, $1,399,768, a decrease of $107,000, which is 9.3% decrease.
Okay, is that due to the sequestration?
Yes.
The part of it?
I'm assuming it is.
Yeah, and that's going to be another, what, 2 years at least?
I think so. Okay, and as you go down the list of federal grants that we have not received allocations for, if you take the average, and we do have teacher quality, it also was reduced by 9.3. We reduced the other federal grants by 9.3, then we have a reduction in federal grants, which we have people paid out federal grants, $249,354 less in federal grants than we had this year. High-speed connections. This is a fiber. We have a 5-year contract, and it ends in June 30, 2017. And what this does is it gives us 85% discounted on phone bills, internet service. So we're only paying 15% on those services at this time. And if you notice at the bottom board, you'll see how much we have received as far as reimbursement for our E-rate. This year, 2013, we've only received $1,346, but it has been filed. I don't have those numbers as far as what we will receive for this year. But you can see that this is a great savings, so that after June 2017, if we do not get this contract again, we would lose this funding. 1 year, $44,000, 2010-11, $50,000, 2011-12, $52,000, 2012-13, $37,000. Revenue options. The board is not a revenue generating entity. SEEK depends on ADA. Encourage and monitor attendance closely. Taxation, which is another option. Just ensure that our tax rate meet our budgetary demands. Increased motor vehicle tax would be an option, but it has never been done since I've been here. Occupational tax, we are not involved in. And of course, there's an option of sell or lease properties. Course of actions, an option to address budget shortfalls. Receive reimbursement from schools for extracurricular trips. Reduce SBDM Section 6 allocation instructional money, and that again is not an option.
You can't do that.
No,
you can't do that.
No,
so why is that here?
That's just an option that has been there for. It's just carried forward. Reduce dependency on substitutes for classified positions from general fund, and I do have some numbers for the board. If you will look and see what a savings we have had on reducing classified subs and also certified subs.
Yeah.
How much do you about pay out in subs this year, do you know?
It was, I'm thinking close to $200,000 last year.
So not only are the students missing, but
teachers too.
So we have had a big improvement. I can tell you that with substitutes this year, certified subs, last year at this time, $156,037 at the end of April. The end of April this year, $78,172. A big improvement. Big improvement. Expenses and obligations, as we said, we have salaries, fringes, insurance, buildings, utilities, transportation, debt service, and KISTA leases. 2014-15 and 15-16 expenditure salary increase. Experience increase with fringe, approximately $180,000 for 2014-15. 1% increase of salaries, another $80,000. For a total of $260,000 increase in salaries for 2014-15. Experience raise the following year, $180,000 approximate, $160,000 for a 2% increase. A total of $340,000 for a salary increase in 2015-16. Current year insurance, workers' comp, $175,301. I expect that to raise when the board is, with Mr. James' help, is bidding that insurance out, and I do expect it to raise. Liability insurance, fleet insurance, property insurance, that's also going to be bid, and I do expect it to raise. Increases in premiums are based upon losses, acquisition of new property, along with increase in replacement costs, buildings, and KISTA assessment. Contingency that we have to maintain by the end of this year and also into the new year, $260,000. Some of this is repetitive. I'm going to flip over. It's been a long session. But as Mr. Meadows has said, there was a 1% mandated increase in salaries. And when we received our seat numbers, $60,000 less than our current year. So how do you maintain where we are now with all the salary increases, the insurance increases, workers' comp increases, utilities? It's going to be a challenge, again, into the new year. And of course, courses of actions and options to address the budget shortfall, reduce or eliminate costs for non-essential supplies, food, services. Cost is increasing. Shop around for better contractual services. When possible, request escrow for any offer of assistance, and that has been done this year and will continue to be done next year. Prepare a long-range plan for the district improvements. Eliminate non-emergency improvements to facilities, which that is where we are now. Course of actions and options to address budget shortfall. Re-examine staffing policy and follow it. Do not fill vacancies due in district transfers. This year we've lost, with retirements and resignation, 27 classified positions that we were able not to fill, and 7 certified. That is in our current year. Reduce wear and tear on buses by eliminating non-essential field trips of school, reduce the number of out-of-district trips, and consolidate scheduling, secondary athletic events. And again, our district, our employees.
Excuse me, is that recommendations from the budget? You guys discussed that?
No, and as I shared with Craig, we created a budget committee in January, the first the district has had. And when I contacted other districts, they said mainly it was to inform. In the last board meeting that we had last week, Mr. Harless, someone mentioned, and I'm sorry, I don't remember who, asking about recommendations from the budget committee, and I think that is a great, great use of the budget committee, and that will be implemented. Okay. And that's all.
Thank you, Tammy.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Tammy. I appreciate it. You do a good, I mean, you do a super job.
Appreciate it.
Next item on the agenda is Martin County Education Association report. Next item is school reports, principals reporting.
Did I hear it right a minute ago, Ms. Long, on that last one? You're taking away like field trips and stuff?
No, that was a recommendation to save money, but no, not take away the
Well, I know I don't think that's a very good one. You said you want to make school attractive. Yeah. Well, a lot of kids, they go to school, especially on field trip days. They love them. They want to go.
And I spoke to someone, I can't remember what was. I believe it was our auditor's children were in here last year with him, and they said that was the reason they hadn't missed any school was they went on a field trip. And I think that is a great idea. No, I'm just saying, you know, if there were a lot, and there hasn't been this year.
And also, you was talking about like on losing seat money. To me, you start cramming more kids in the classroom and you take away the teacher's aides, that's going to make kids not want to go to school. I've got 6 kids, not missed a day of school since I've been in there. My oldest one's in 7th grade. And I do everything I can do to get them in there. But you start cramming more kids in, it's going to make it even tougher on us parents to get them in there. And it's going to be even harder on the teachers to keep their attention. We need the aides.
Some of them don't need extra help.
We need
They're not going to get it if you take their aides. My son's a junior, and I don't know how he made it there. I really don't.
I just want the best for my kids and everybody else. We want to take the aides away.
I commend you for getting your kids to school. Yeah. That's one thing I've stressed as far as parents. We got to get parents on board to help us get those kids to school.
But I don't think that's the answer. That means aides. It's not it.
No, it ain't.
It's not it.
In fact, I said I'd like to see competition amongst parents. I mean, if Eden's competing against, Warfield or Inez, and if these parents and we as a board maybe donate a piece of some type of equipment to the school in their name, you get your kids. I don't know how competitive parents are. I think, or a playground. You can get parents to do that. I mean, I know how competitive parents are. I'm going to do this. Hey, Warfield's not going to. Hey, I'm going to get my kid to school. If we don't get that piece of playground, if we don't get this piece of equipment, parents, I know how parents are.
I'll share with you one last thing. I think the chairman's going to call the meeting here, but anybody wants to stay and discuss questions, I have a 24-hour turnaround on emails, phone calls, whatever it is. And anytime, I have never, ever, in 1 year since I've been here, turned anybody away that came into this office. You may have to wait till somebody else is in there, but I have never turned anybody away. I've spoken to every person that's ever come in here 24 hours a day. But the last thing is I want to share with you now, it's just down the road, Breathitt County. Now they've got a state manager down there, and here's what he did for attendance. This is an incentive. And specifically, if you are here a certain number of days, if you don't miss like 10 or 20 to 10 days during the year, you would be allowed to walk across stage and get your diploma. Now folks, walking across stage is a big deal for a senior, right? But it's a privilege, it's not a right. So what happened was a district judge down there filed an injunction against, or signed an injunction against the school district because they put an incentive in place to improve and increase their attendance. So what I'm saying is when we put strategies and mechanisms in place, for instance, if you're not here every day, like say in elementary, if you're not here every day, then you don't get to go on the field trip. I can tell you what happens. You won't experience this because all your kids are there. But our teachers and our principals and this office is barraged by angry parents because their kid is not in school and they don't get to go to that. So please be sensitive to that. We do want to do these things, but we get beat up too. And then you have a court system, and nothing against the judge down there. If anybody knows them, I'm sure you do. But we've got the school systems have a huge battle on their hands just to provide the incentives or put in place incentives for attendance, especially when we're battled by the court system says, no, you can't because my kid hasn't been here, keep them from a field trip. Well, yes, we can. Yes, we can. Okay. Not an education or instructional field trip, mind you, but for extracurricular.
Let me tell you what happened. In Breathitt County, where the state's running the district, the judge did enter an order. They had a policy that if you had to achieve 95% attendance, or juniors and seniors couldn't go to the prom, and you got your diploma, but you couldn't go through graduation. The judge entered an order on May 2nd, but the teachers of the district and the retired teachers went up in arms and basically flooded the judge's office. So this afternoon he rescinded the order.
Good.
Good. But that district has laid off and ripped, I don't know, I'll bet 15 classified employees and several teachers because they just don't have any money.
We just want, I mean, that's right, I always not say what I say, because we just want you guys to know that we're willing as teachers, or willing as just your employees, to help out as much as we can. And if that is what we can do, that's the only reason I said that, Gary. I know you said that we just can't do it. Yeah. But if there is an option like that out there, we're up for it. And it's just to help out the county, because we enjoy having our aides with us, as you know. And like he says, when you start capsizing those rooms and you pull those aides out, we're in trouble. You talk about state scores, they're going to go down.
Going to go down big time, drastically.
And kids ain't going to learn that.
Well, I want to remind, I've said this, you can go to the tape. The intent is to decrease the teacher-student ratio in those primary grades. I want more teachers, but again, the pie is only so big. We've got to get more teachers in our classroom. That's the single most determining impact to a student's achievement, is the quality of teacher in the classroom. Nothing else. It's the quality of teacher in the classroom. So we want highly qualified teachers in our classroom with a low ratio, especially in the primary. And if we are successful, and folks, it ain't gonna happen overnight. It's just, there is a sense of urgency, but it's going to take a little time to turn this tide on our student achievement. And there's so many strategies and so many factors that impact low achievement, the attendance, you know, the learning needs, the learning disabilities, the money, all of that. It's incredibly complex, and especially when our revenue is generated on taxes. You know, we don't like raising taxes. But I want the board to know, and I've shared this with them many times, I'll share with you again now. We want to reduce the ratio for that very reason. But we've got to pay those teachers as well when we reduce those ratios.
Well, I need to, I want to ask these two principals, have you all got anything in the school as far as, well, end of the year incentives, like for perfect attendance or anything?
We have incentives, yes.
Okay, but do y'all have like field trips and things like that? Do you have anything, Mr. Haney, as far as?
I don't have a field trip. I had shied away from that for several different reasons throughout the course of years. I had several of them throughout INS, but I don't have any now. But we have things, and we have done things throughout the course of the year for you. You got to be so careful though, because you can't spend money on it. You can't.
Well, here's something about
you're very limited on. Yeah. So it's been things like we played a game here the other day with them. You know, it's been limited.
Okay.
And a big problem with elementary is, do I punish a child for not being at school?
That's it. That's it. At Warfield,
I can't punish a child. I can say, if you're not here, you're not going. It'll come that day, and I'll say, get right on the bus.
Okay. I can't do that. Years ago at Warfield Middle School, I was a site-based parent. Okay, as a site-based parent rep. And what they would do, they would reward kids that had perfect attendance. You couldn't miss any days. So I asked the principal, and I won't say who it is, but I asked the principal at that time, how many of your teachers have perfect attendance? Now mind you, see, I know that they get 10 days off, and then they get 3 emergency days for that. How many of your teachers did not miss a day last year?
Last year?
And he couldn't give me an answer. Huh?
Last year, not one.
Okay, well,
my daughter had surgery this year is why I missed this year.
Okay. Okay, but see, here's the thing I'm saying. You know, you're punishing a kid because they might have had the flu or something like that.
A lot of times, it's not the kids. It's not the kids' fault. I taught homebound. I went to a home. I had a 4th grader who got his little sister, who's in the 2nd grade, ready to go to school. In turn, he had a little brother in kindergarten, and his mom wasn't there. And you know, that's a 4th grade. That's what some kids have to deal with. So it's not the kid. But we got to get those parents on some way, somehow.
And that could be the reason that
you got to think about how much instruction these kids are going to miss when you take a teacher away from a classroom that used to be 20 and now they're 30. Because what you're going to lose is, and I can tell you the math on it, but each class will lose 6 weeks of instruction. I can show you the math. When you go from 20 kids to 30 kids, you will lose 6 weeks of instruction. It's 1/6 of the school year,
you know.
and I can show you the math on it. I want you all to just keep that in mind. I mean, it's you guys, you 5 are going to decide these things.
Yeah. It's like I said, when I taught, I've had 38, 40 in a class, but then 20 now is like 40.
And when you talk about how much time a teacher gets to spend with each student in a small class, and then all of a sudden
exactly right.
they don't get to spend that time with them anymore.
Then you take the aids away.
Then you're taking all, a lot of things away. What you have, like in your all's hands, you have every kid in Martin County in your hands. You 5. You have them all. When you increase classroom size, your hands split apart, and some of those kids start falling out.
Fall through the cracks.
They start falling out. They start losing instruction. Every kid will lose 6 weeks of instruction going from 20 to 30. Just keep that in mind. And when my 5th graders go to 6th grade next year to him, those teachers are going to have to spend 6 weeks just reviewing just to get them up where they should be. Keep that in mind. That's just something that's really important. They're and everybody knows that already.
I'm working with the kids though.
Large classroom is less instruction.
I thought you went to school too.
And I said, I've been a firm believer that if you do what's right and treat your neighbor right, that God will make sure you have finances. I've always been a true believer of that. And that's why, you know, that's why I went to those meetings. I was asked to come by, you know, everybody, each one I went to, I was asked to come by parents, or not parents, but some of the employees. And that's why I went, because I wanted them to know that I do support the kids first, you know, and I know that every hand that's in that school touches a child. And I'm a firm believer if we put that first.
I will tell you how important the assistants are. I was retained in 3rd grade. 3rd grade. I was a poor reader. I couldn't read. Look at me now. If it wasn't for that assistant, I wouldn't be here right now. She pulled me back to the back of the room every day. Miss Dinah. Thank God for Miss Dinah.
I mean, I was a board member. I know what you're going through. I know how tough it is. I remember when the state told us we needed to decrease jobs. I remember that. We didn't. They didn't tell us we had to or anything.
So it's your fault.
That started with us. We didn't. We couldn't. We just things slowly, you know, somebody retire, you don't feel something. I mean, things slowly progressed. Just be careful. Be careful because of the classroom sizes.
I don't want to do that. I don't want to.
Be careful. It's your decision. Be careful.
Like I said, we got into this job to help, not hurt.
I think you take the aids away and you have more kids, it's going to hurt.
I need a motion to adjourn.
Well, I got motion to adjourn.
Any second?
Second.
Motion second. All in favor? Say aye. Stand adjourned. Thank you.